Thousands of years ago, a family migrated to Egypt seeking refuge from a famine. It was Jacob and his sons, 70 people. They arrived in Egypt as welcomed, honored guests. One of their own, Joseph, had actually saved the Egyptian empire from total starvation, earning the deep gratitude of the ruling class. Time passed. Joseph died. His brothers died. Eventually, that founding generation was gone, but the family they left behind grew rapidly. What started as a few branches multiplied outward, generation after generation, filling the land. They shifted into a massive, undeniable presence within the country. As their numbers peaked, the political climate shifted. A new pharaoh took the Egyptian throne. The text tells us this new king did not know Joseph. He entirely erased the historical goodwill between the crown and the Israelites. It takes one regime change for a community to go from celebrated saviors to perceived outsiders. The memory of the state is remarkably short. When this new pharaoh looked at the Israelites, he didn't see human beings. He saw a security threat based on population size alone. He worried that if a war broke out, this enormous group living within his borders might join Egypt's enemies, fight against the state, and eventually leave the country. To neutralize this perceived threat, Pharaoh implemented a brutal political solution. He set up a system of heavy taxation and state-sponsored forced labor designed to physically exhaust and control them. He drafted them to build two massive supply cities for the empire, named Pithom and Raamses. Leaders who hold absolute power often manufacture domestic enemies. By framing a minority group as a threat to national security, a dictator can justify stripping away their basic human rights. The physical reality of this labor was grueling. The text describes it as beferach, ruthless, back-breaking work mixing heavy mortar and baking mud bricks in the hot sun. The text says the more they were oppressed, the more they multiplied. Pharaoh's strategy failed completely. The population compressed tightly and grew faster. Like a compressed metal spring, the harder the empire pushed down, the more resistance it created. Systems of oppression often fail their primary goal. Instead of destroying a community, extreme pressure can forge an unbreakable strength that makes them grow faster. Because the forced labor camps failed to stop the population growth, Pharaoh escalated his approach. He moved to a quiet, lethal strategy. He summoned 2 Hebrew midwives, named Shiphrah and Puah. He gave them a horrifying order. As they helped the Hebrew women deliver, they were to quietly kill every newborn boy and let the girls live. These were ordinary, unarmed women, standing before the most powerful dictator on earth. They held the future of an entire generation in their hands. The midwives refused. The text says they feared God, meaning they followed a higher moral conscience. They ignored the tyrant's command and actively kept the baby boys alive. When Pharaoh realized what was happening, he demanded an explanation. The midwives cleverly evaded his wrath, telling him that Hebrew women were simply too vigorous, giving birth before a midwife could even arrive. Because of their bravery, God rewarded Shiphrah and Puah with families of their own, and the Israelite population continued to surge. In one of the earliest recorded acts of civil disobedience, 2 ordinary individuals defeated an empire's mandate by choosing personal conscience over a ruler's command. Having lost control of his secret extermination plan, Pharaoh removed the mask entirely. He issued a public, terrifying decree to all of his citizens. The new law stated that every newborn Hebrew boy must be violently thrown into the Nile River. The entire state apparatus was now mobilized to hunt down infants. There was no safe harbor left. Total tyranny had engulfed the nation. As this chapter closes, the situation is incredibly bleak, leaving us to wonder how any future leader could possibly survive those deadly waters.